So, how do you respond when you find out that your parents are going to have a divorce? I have no clue, but here's what's happening so far. So if you couldn't tell by the intro and or the title of this video, I clearly have some concerns about my family at the moment, specifically the heads of my household. So I gotta say, going into the new year with this new show, I was not anticipating getting into anything too deep with you this soon. Then again, going into the new decade, I had no anticipation that my parents were going to split up. So here we are. Now, here's what happened. This past weekend began pretty usual, in my opinion. Dad was going to be coming back from a business trip. Before you let the phrase business trip take you to places, don't, because that's not the case. At least I don't believe it is. So Mom and I went out to Charlotte to drop off one of the cars, so he could come back home later on. Got back to the house. She had to do her nails, and that inevitably takes 3 hours. I don't get how or why, but whatever. So I'm at home waiting for her to be done because it's Saturday and we usually go out shopping on Saturdays for whatever the hell. Didn't happen. Eventually my dad gets home and he's fine at first. Then I notice that doors in the house are being shut with a bit more force than you'd expect. So my only thought at the time was, okay, what's he upset about now? He's typically a grouchy person, but I'm used to it. It's been 26 years. Now, that happened. Mom gets home. No one says anything. But then I notice something's off. Because I go to speak with her. And I can just tell she's upset. Like, more than usual. And so, me, being nonchalant, I'm just like, what's the deal? What's going on? And instead of hoping to hear an answer like, oh, dad's just grouchy, or this pointless thing or this pointless thing, what I get back is Dad and I are not in a good place. My body doesn't know how to process that particular response because you don't expect it. At least I did not expect it. So I was like, what does that mean? Are you like, what's the deal? And she's just like, it's not looking good. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go because I can't attempt to process any more of this stuff, which I'm already having processing issues with. So I go talk to my brother across the hall. And I'm like, hey, dude, Mom just said this and then this and this. And here's what he thought. They typically have arguments over politics, and that sometimes gets the better of them, and they have a decent fight, but that lasts like a day or two, and then it's over with. So my brother writes it off as just that, another fight, whatever, we're used to it. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's the deal. Go to bed, whatever. Next day, get a call from my youngest brother, who's in Florida. He was apparently speaking to Mom earlier that morning prior to me waking up. And I guess she straight up told him, Dad and I are getting a divorce. And I'm like, well, they didn't tell us anything straight up. No one's freaking talking in this house. So what makes it worse is that my other brother, who wrote the whole thing off as just a fight, is at work and he's got no clue. So now I got to figure out, okay, if this is going to happen, if this is happening, which thus far still it seems to be the case, how do I tell him? Because I'm like, I don't know how to process this. I got no clue what's going on. So how am I supposed to tell him and not have the whole story? On top of that, again, no one in the house is talking. So the first thing I do to get some kind of like advice, call my best friend in the world, known her since I was a kid. And I knew the second I told her because she's known me since the 6th grade. She's been to my house ample times. Her head was going to explode, and her head blew up. It's just like, what the hell's going on? What the hell happened? And spoke to my mom that day, and I asked her, okay, is it over? You know? And when I asked it, I meant like the fight, you know, being optimistic. She took that as the marriage. I was asking that is the marriage over? And she said, looks that way. I'm like, why the hell? And she's just like, we're different people. Now, my response to that is like, well, in related news, the sun came up and the sky is blue. You've been different people for 35 years. What the hell's more different now? You know what I'm saying? So this far, it's been 3 days since the initial quasi annunciation, and no one's talking. On top of that, now no one's here. My mom, business trip to New Hampshire. My dad was here this morning. Now, business trip to Tennessee. And it's like, and this may not seem like a lot to you at first, but it's been 3+ days of dark and quiet in my house, which is typically not a thing. And even though it's been just a small handful of days, for me, I'm going crazy. Because first off, no one before was talking, and now no one's here to talk, period. My brother's in the other room, and he's not taking it too well. So it's like, what the do we do? Don't want to say fuck. I'll beep it out. But it's just like, what do we do? You know, how do we respond? I never thought this would be a scenario. Not like me being 26 years old, you think it would happen earlier, that whatever differences they had would have caused a big enough strain well before now. But I guess this stuff isn't really timeable. You can't totally predict it. But in speaking with my friend, who I mentioned earlier, she did say that while she's surprised that it's actually happening, she said that as an outsider looking in, she always looked at my parents, looked at my mom, looked at my dad, and always wondered, how the hell are these two people together? Because they are different people. But again, it's been that way for the majority of 40 years. They've known each other since they were in high school. So what's different now is completely lost to me. I've got no clue what's going on. And I'm going through all these different spiral mental downfalls where I'm trying to think about what the heck happened. Now, tell me if you've been here before, in the comments section, because one of the things I've been thinking, and being super honest here, is wondering, am I putting a strain on their relationship? Because here's my deal. I'm, again, 26 years old. I think it's unfortunate that I'm 26 and I'm still living at home. Trust me, this was not my plan. I was definitely hoping that once I got my degree and did all the things I did, I'd be somewhere paying enough to get me out of the house. Not a case. On top of that, I'm not the happiest person in the world, but I try to be the happiest person I can be as often as possible. But then you've got the fact that I've got student debt that my parents are unfortunately responsible for the majority of it, because the school system is BS. And even though it was my education I was going for, the parents have to take the fall for it, which I think is stupid. I'm 26. Just give me all the dang loans so they can have a bit more money every month. And so things like that, you wonder, what am I doing to cause an issue? I'm here, me being here and me having tried to strive to do the things that I've tried to do, it's put the parents in a not ideal financial situation. And you can't help but wonder, well, hell, I gotta be the problem. But when no one talks, you're just left in this open void of spiraling in multiple directions, and it's not healthy for anybody. The best I'm hoping for right now is when they're both back. They should both be back in a couple days. Just like, tell me what's going on. Because the other side of this is, they, again, have me and my younger brother. We live at home. So if this is a thing where it's going to happen and they're going to split up, what's the house situation? How much more, not that I would mind, but how much more do my brother and I have to put in to make sure bills are paid, everything is kept up with? And more so, do we need to try to talk about the two of us moving out and moving into an apartment together? Like, what's the situation? There are so many questions in my head right now, and it's like it's hard to sleep because, again, there's just this lingering basket of questions in my head every second, morning, noon, night, and I don't know how to get them to shut up long enough so I can just relax and remember whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It's just, it's the crappiest situation I think I've been in. And I don't mean to sound like an asshole, but I mean, honestly, I don't know how to manage it. It's so out of left field, and I need advice. If you've been here before, if you're either a parent who's gotten divorced and you've had to talk to your kids about it, if you are the child of somebody whose parents split up and you had no clue. And that brings me to this also. I've spoken with several friends. All of my friends who happen to have also experienced a divorce, they all did it because their partner at the time had issues, like either substance abuse or they were somehow abusive. That's not the case with my parents. So it's like, what the hell's the dish? Tell me what's going on. This is crazy stupid. Again, I had no plans on getting this deep, this real with you right off the bat. I was hoping to have some fun on this channel first, but shit happens. What can you do? So let me know in the comments section what you think. What advice do you have? What suggestions could you give someone in my position? Just tell me anything. Hit like, subscribe. If you hit the bell when I come at you with an update on the situation, you'll be the first to know. Hope you have a great night, and I will see you next time.